About 2 days ago, Raila Odinga attended a funeral in Kiambu of a very famous Kenyan. The Wayaki family has been bang in the middle of Kenyan history for decades. But what is most super fascinatingly interesting are the remarks that emerged from that funeral. Raila Odinga was speaking, and then suddenly he introduced somebody and gave them a chance to make some brief remarks. Now, first of all, we have to ask ourselves, why did Raila do this? Because Raila does not do something without political advantage. After all, he's a politician. Now, let us just listen in very carefully to the super controversial remarks. And I have to give credit to one of us who attracted my attention to these very controversial remarks, in a comment on this channel. Asante sana. I can use all the help I can get because I can't be everywhere. Sometimes I miss things, very important things. Asante sana. So let us take a bit of time to listen carefully to what this gentleman says. I'll be back shortly.
Vitu wengi wanapiga kelele hapa na pale, Raila ameenda kwa Ruto, ametuacha. Mimi sijaenda kwa Ruto. Ruto amekuja kwangu. Mimi nimesema mimi nibaki, msimamo yangu haijabadilika. Kitu muhimu zaidi mpaka sasa mimi nakuwa napigania haki ya Wakenya yote. Uliona jamaa walikuwa na sheta, baadaye mwaka jana vijana wakajitokeza. Gen Z wakaingia kwa barabara, wakapiga chafua sana tena, wakapiga na hao watu, wakatuma mapolisi kwenda kupiga watoto na kuua. Watoto wengi waliuawa. Hayo yote yakawa pale. Wakaleta watu jeshi, wakatetemeka. Baadaye sasa wakalazimishwa kuvunja serikali na kusema watashauriana kuunda serikali mpya. Lakini sisi tumesema maneno ambayo ziko swala nyeti zimebaki pale mpaka litatuliwe. Lakini haviwezi kutatuliwa kama watu hawajakuja pamoja kuongea, kuangalia vile mambo yatakuwa. Ndio sababu mimi nataka tumazuri kwa Wakenya wote. Niko hapa na rafiki yangu anajulikana kama wa Raila. Wao hivyo ndio salimu hao watu.
Mwarado itu. Muri garigi. Jitago mweha wa Kamau. Na mwiko igaritwa niki? Utiritwa itagikuria mwana ni mwewe uria ndeto. Mimi nataka kutoa rambirambi zangu kwa hii jamii. Nikiwa kijana mdogo sana, tulifanya kazi na Dr. Wayaki na mama Wamboi Otieno. Na nataka kuwakumbusha historia moja. Kuna wakati mama Wamboi aliamua kwenda kusimama Rongai, kunaitwa Kajiado North. Huyu mzee akaniambia twende. Nikamwambia ni sawa. Tulipoenda huko tukakuta Saitoti ametuwekea vijana Masai wakatupiga, lakini Wamboi alisimama, hakusimama. Tulifanya kazi mpaka Wamboi akaja, tukatengeneza NDP pamoja na huyu mzee, na Wamboi akawa treasurer wetu. Na Wamboi are jaba. Na mudore watu hori heta wa Saitoti. Lakini baadaye tulipoenda NAK na huyu mzee alishika Saitoti mkono na akapewa minister. Hiyo ndio roho ya huyu mzee. Kwa hivyo sisi mkituona tunafuata huyu mzee, tunamjua zaidi. Na wao mwara hale ya beretu hao. Ni moigwa. Muthuri hao. Mutikae ko heni ole mundu. Na mkitaka mtu hale ni moigwa. Ni moigwa. Tunakula maktamu huko mbele sisi tuko. Ni Mungu tu tunaomba tufikishe 2027. Fororio ole guthiurathia na jeshi. Na andũ matikae kuhenania. Wakati ule jenzi waliingia na Wakenya mnasahau sana, na watu wa gazeti muandike. Hamkumbuki kuwa hiyo siku ambayo ilifuata bunge ilienda wakakaa. Wakapitisha kuwa army itoke. Army ikatoka. Mpaka leo wajumbe wenu hawajarudisha mswada wa kurudisha army. Mkisukuma Ruto zaidi atapeana hii serikali kwa army. Shauri yenu wa Kenya. Asanteni.
Hayo ni mambo ya Kamau, si mambo ya baba. Kwa hivyo wacha tuseme, tuache ndugu yetu Kimani Wayaki alale sawa sawa. Alale sawa sawa, na Mungu aweke moyo wake pahali pema peponi. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana baba kwa hiyo historia ambayo umetupatia ya baba yetu Kimani. Na asante.
Hey! Now, those were very telling remarks. I have tried to translate the Kikuyu part. Okay? But I'm certain the message came through very clearly. What did he mean? Clearly, Raila Odinga wanted us to get this message. Oh yes, he said after the person had spoken that those are not the opinions of Raila Odinga. He told us that very clearly. And therefore, if they are not the opinion of Raila Odinga, why did he not give us a counter opinion after this person spoke? Why? It would seem that Raila saying those are not his views was simply to avoid the controversy. Because this experienced politician is very much aware of the fact that at the moment he is walking on eggshells. So to speak, he has to tread very carefully. Because already he has the biggest political crisis of his long political career in his hands. That will have to agree. And so let us break this down and analyze it and come to a conclusion. Come to a conclusion as to what is really going on here. Okay? And I'm sure you agree with me. Whatever conclusion we come up with, itakuwa moto kuliko pasi ya makaa. But very quickly before we do that, please allow me to acknowledge our sponsors for today's show, which is a plot in Diani. Our recent sponsors have mainly been from the North Coast, but a lot of new exciting things are happening in the South Coast. Most of us are aware of the Dungu Kundu development, which has opened up the South Coast in a way it has never been opened up since independence. Because before this development, the only way to the South Coast from Mombasa was via the ferry. And the ferry has various hiccups, various bottlenecks, which have hampered the development of the South Coast. But the big news now is that the South Coast is the new kid on the block. It's a hot investment destination, no doubt about that. Now this plot, which is about an eighth, is in a place called Kombani, which is not very far from Diani. It is a very prime piece of land. Please use the telephone number you see on your screens right now to make contact and get more information. I believe you can also use WhatsApp for easy communication, easy quick communication, to get all the information you want, to make your decision and maybe get to that position where you can act with speed, before somebody else does. Right. Hii maneno ya kutisha ya jeshi. Let us proceed. Now we need to remember that the entire ODM party, right across the board, had a consensus. All of them agreed that when the Gen Z revolution broke out, it was going to lead the country into a place where the country did not need to go. Okay, that was the opinion of the ODM party. Of course, a vast majority of Kenyans think differently. And this old-fashioned view, I will call it old-fashioned because it is old thinking. This thinking was that chaos can take Kenya nowhere. Chaos cannot take Kenya to a better place. And therefore, everybody in ODM was in support of the intervention of the party in frustrating the Gen Z revolution. That should not be a secret. Now, we need to understand that politicians have mastered the art of doublespeak and quickly changing the way they are talking in order not to lose support. But the truth is, the entire ODM party were very threatened and very worried by the Gen Z revolution, which peaked in June 2024. And therefore what Raila did and what the ODM party did to frustrate the Gen Z revolution was fully supported, even by people like Kalonzo Musyoka. Hey, believe it or not, Musyoka, of course, is the party leader of Wiper. He's not in ODM, but Wiper is part of Azimio. And so we can also add that even beyond ODM, this particular way of thinking had a lot of support from some of the partners of ODM in Azimio. How is this relevant to what we're discussing today? I will tell you. It is the very same thinking that is behind what I can call a threat. If you people don't follow what Raila is doing, if you people don't take Ruto slowly, then what is going to happen is that we're going to end up with a military regime. This is really what this man was saying. Now, one of the reasons why I'm calling this old-fashioned thinking, I want us to cast our minds to something that happened only the other day, very recently, in a country not very far away from Kenya, Sudan. Now in Sudan, there was a revolt led by the young people of that country. Okay? And they managed to remove a very brutal dictator who had much more experience staying in power than Ruto has. Bwana Bashir, who is actually now in jail. Now it is worth noting that after the successful revolution of the young people in that country, an interim government took power after Bashir was ousted. However, things went south when there was foreign interference, which is what really fueled the civil war that has brought so much chaos into the country called Sudan. Okay? Because there was a war which broke out between two factions in the military. The special forces of Bashir and the main Sudanese army. In a nutshell, that is what happened in the Sudan. My point here is that it is possible, it would have been very possible for the Gen Z revolution to have ended up with some sort of caretaker government in the country called Kenya. And admittedly, Kenya is not immune to foreign interference. And therefore, it is possible that what happened in the Sudan would have happened in Kenya after the Gen Z's successful revolution. However, it is also possible that we could have avoided that. You can't predict the future. with certainty. And in any case, the level of awareness in Kenya today is much higher than it is in Sudan. And therefore, I dare add, it would have been that much more difficult to do what was done in Sudan, in Kenya, if that had happened. And therefore, with that information, we can understand much more clearly what may be happening here. Okay? This seems to have been a threat. And what was actually happening is that Raila was sending a message to Kenyans that I'm trying my best to help you people as a country. I am always for the good of the Kenyan people. And you people need to know that the option of Raila not being there is that Ruto could very easily hand over the nation to the military. That is really the long and short of this. Now, Kenyans right now are very emotional, and therefore their reaction to something like that would be very predictable. However, I would urge caution, because there are so many factors at play here. Only God can save Kenya. There are so many factors at play here. There are so many greedy, selfish politicians in Kenya today. There are so many powerful people on the ground in Kenya who are very determined to have their way, very determined to push forward their agenda, that only God can rescue Kenya. Because the truth is, we're in a very dangerous situation. I don't want to support what Raila is saying or the message he seems to be passing to Kenyans. No, don't get me wrong. I don't support it. All I'm saying is that moving forward, we need to move with a lot of caution. Now, just before I go, I need to inform you that my very latest special report, which is very relevant to what we're discussing, it is titled The Next President of Kenya. Hey! The next President of Kenya. Because you see, Kenya is the land of entrepreneurs. We have a entrepreneur in office right now. This man has never been employed for long periods of time. He has made his fortune from taxpayers' money. That is not a secret. And therefore we're in a very dangerous, precarious situation. My special report dives deep into the many dangers, into the many powerful forces who are trying their best to plant candidates, to pull things in their direction, so that when the dust settles, they will have an advantage. This is a very dangerous situation for Kenya. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Now you can see details on the screens right now. To get this highly sensitive, very detailed special report will cost you only Kenya shillings 3,999. Okay? I suggest that you act fast, because as usual, the slots are very few. This is not for everybody. But if you're one of those followers of this channel who always wants to ensure that they have a front seat on what is really going on in the country, then I suggest that you move with speed and get this very latest special report of mine. Of course, I'll do you the courtesy of also sending you all the previous highly sensitive special reports. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.